Yasir Hamid from Pakistan registered 170 runs on his debut against Bangladesh. Dwayne Smith from West Indies scored 105 runs not out on his debut against South Africa. Former English captain Andy Strauss made fantastic 112 runs innings on his debut against New Zealand. Former Australian captain Michael Clarke registered 151 runs on his debut against India. Fawad Alam from Pakistan made 168 runs on his debut innings against Sri Lanka. Former English captain Alastair Cook scored a century against India on his debut. Wicketkeeper of England Matt Pryor scored 126 runs not out against West Indies on his debut. Jonathan Trott scored 119 runs on his debut against Australia. Umar Akmal from Pakistan scored 129 runs against New Zealand on his debut innings. Alvaro Peterson from South Africa scored a century against India on his debut test. Finest batsman from India, Suresh Raina scored 120 runs against Sri Lanka on his debut. Kane Williamson scored 131 runs against India on his debut innings. Kirk Edwards from West Indies scored 110 runs against India. From Australia, Sean Mott scored 141 runs on his debut against Sri Lanka. Former Proteas captain Faf du Plessis scored 110 runs not out against Australia on his debut test. From New Zealand, Hamish Rutherford scored 171 runs on his debut innings against England. Shikhar Dhawan from India scored 187 runs innings on his debut against Australia. Indian captain Rohit Sharma scored 177 runs on his debut against West Indies. Jimmy Neesham scored 137 runs not out on his debut innings against India. S. Van Zyl scored a century against West Indies on his debut innings. Adam Boyce from Australia scored 130 runs fantastic innings against West Indies on his debut. Stephen Cook from South Africa scored 115 runs against England. From England, Kieran Jennings scored 112 runs on his debut against India. Kiwi wicketkeeper Tom Blunder scored 107 runs not out against West Indies. From Ireland, Kevin O'Brien scored 118 runs on his debut against Pakistan. On his debut test, Prithvi Shaw scored 134 runs against West Indies. Ben Foakes smashed a century against Sri Lanka on his debut test. Abid Ali from Pakistan scored 109 runs not out against Sri Lanka on his debut. Kyle Mears from West Indies scored historic double century against Bangladesh on his debut innings. From Sri Lanka, Pathum Nissanka scored a century against West Indies. On his debut, Devon Conway from New Zealand scored a double century against England. Shreyas Iyer scored 105 runs against New Zealand on his debut test. From Bangladesh, Zakir Hasan scored a century against India. Ali Tucker from Ireland scored 108 runs against Bangladesh. On his debut, Yashasvi Jaiswal scored 171 runs against West Indies.